Judge Joe Brown's all-new barbecue sauce and seasoning. Justice in the form of flavor.
Law firms will take this as a retainer.
What? It must be a law firm where they hungry as hell. Now you gonna help me with this parole I'm dealing with?
Judge Joe Brown's all-new barbecue sauce and seasoning. Justice in the form of flavor. With one taste of our premium blends of all-natural ingredients, herbs, and spices, you'll fall in love with meat all over again. Judge Joe Brown's all-natural barbecue sauce collection is made up of 2 zesty flavors, original and spicy. There's only one way to bring order back to barbecuing. Just add Judge Joe Brown's all-natural barbecue sauce and seasoning, and you be the judge.
Hi. Okay, so it's been a minute since we did Man Up on Thursdays on YouTube. So I'm not on a website tonight. We're here, but I'm not leaving this live up. No. The restream I will leave up on the website, therealdananetwork.com. And guys, let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. Please like the video and share the video. I'm not even live on X. So yeah. And I think this is going to be a really good show. Hi, Judge. Yesterday was Valentine's.
2 thumbs up. Yeah.
2 thumbs up. Yes. Yesterday was Valentine's Day. And guys, let me know how my audio is. And Ash Wednesday, I went and got blessed with the ashes on my forehead. So I will be giving up things during Lent because Ash Wednesday is the beginning of Lent. You fast a little bit like on Fridays and you give up something, right? It's like you're repenting. And I don't want to say what I'm giving up, but it's a couple things that I'm giving up. And then Ramadan starts next month. So I will be participating in that as well. But how was your Valentine's Day yesterday? Because honey, you told me you had. Oh. Sorry. Y'all men, like, stop.
We men don't like these holidays.
But you participate.
The only thing we get out of them is nookie, maybe, and not even that all the time. We got to come up with the gifts, find the restaurants, or if we don't find the restaurants, pay for them, get the flowers, deal with all of the stuff having coming through. It's a nervous wreck time. We don't like that kind of shit. So, or stuff, excuse me, except if it pleases the ladies. So these holidays are not for men.
I don't celebrate Valentine's. I haven't celebrated Valentine's since I was like in my early 20s.
Saint Valentine.
First of all, yeah, it's a horror story behind it or something. And
that thing in Chicago behind Al Capone.
Right. And then 2, I don't want you to do something nice for me on this one day like everybody else, because I'm going to be different. My Valentine's, every day should be Valentine's Day if we're together. You know, whether we...
Well, you know, that's Catholic Church. They had all these saints' days, and they were trying to co-opt fertility symbols and all that other kind of stuff that the good folk who were honest about it kept practicing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, listen, let's just get right into it. Like this video, like I said, donate to my Cash App. I pinned it in the chat. Buy barbecue sauce, honey. Yes. Fani, the mammy. I keep spelling it with 2 N's, but it's 1 N. Child. The news outlets and YouTube news outlets was popping all afternoon because Miss Thane took the stand and showed out. She was defiant. She was a hostile witness. She was sassy. She was angry. She was every single stereotype of the negative Black woman. And let me just say this about her. She is smart.
That wasn't very smart what she did.
She is. It was great. Overall, she is a smart woman. I give her that. But she made a stupid error continuing having a, I would say, love relationship or intimacy with someone, a special prosecutor or whatever, but it didn't. And then she displayed her ignorance today. You saw some of it because I sent you the video.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote down some notes like that I kind of want to touch on. First of all, just overall, what was your general reaction of her demeanor or her
I'll
performance?
start with the judge. The judge is pretty good at what he did.
Oh, I didn't want to start with the judge.
No,
He's
but I'm
on the
trying to
list
say
though.
the
No,
lady
what's up with
lawyer. Lady
We're not
lawyer.
even 5 minutes into this show, and me and him.
I know. Hold on. The lady lawyer that represented the
Can you
other.
not? I already have it on
Just
the
hold
list.
on. I don't have that much to say about what I have to say about her.
Yeah,
Right
but
now.
why can't you trust me with
I
the flow?
know. I was going to lead her. Just let me. The lady lawyer was okay, but just like the male lawyer representing the other side, they both showed to me a lack of trial experience. And Miss Fani was used to everybody taking a rollover dive and was showing the same kind of lack of trial experience that the other two did. So, what did she do wrong? She was trying to make everything personal, and the problem is that she wasn't letting her lawyer do his job. She was trying to do it for him. And when you try to make it personal, you lose track of what you're doing, and it becomes I'm trying to floss rather than deal with the issues of the lawsuit. She got trapped a number of places because there is some stuff that's in this record that was filed in the divorce proceedings by Wade's wife. And that's going to contradict what she had to say. A lot of that stuff with trips to DC and who with and not going at all. That was bad. And she kept digressing, trying to make a point of flossing personally, which was not about the lawsuit. So, yeah, it's people with some or a moderate expanse of trial experience and some with little.
I want us to take our time with this, right? At least for the first 40 minutes, 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So I put down hostile witness. What is hostile witness exactly?
Well, she's not a hostile witness. She's a party defendant. A hostile witness is when you call somebody on your side, like the mother of the person you're suing, and the witness is hostile, so you get to lead a hostile witness. It's a civil matter. So the subject is entitled to be called, and she effectively was being cross-examined. So anytime you're cross-examining somebody, they're going to be hostile. The hostile witness is if you call them. In other words, it's a murder and the mother of the victim's on the stand and the defense counsel is going to cross-examine. It is presumed that the witness is going to be hostile to their cause of defense. But if the defense calls the mother, then they want the judge to declare the witness to be hostile so they can cross-examine. What's the difference between direct examination and cross-examination? Cross-examination, you can lead. Direct examination, you cannot. You cannot cross-examine your witnesses unless they're hostile. So hence you want the hostile witness thing. What is a direct versus leading? What is direct and non-leading? Well, for example, if you say to a witness you called, you went to the door with your wallet in your hand, didn't you? That's leading. It suggests an answer. You have to say, when it's your witness, do you or do you not recall the events of such and such day? If the answer is yes. Do you or do you not recall the events on or around 5 p.m. that day? Yes. Is there anything unusual that happened at that time? Yes. Would you please tell us what it is or was? that is non-leading. If you're cross-examining, you can say, you went to the door with this bag that you had a gun in, didn't you? See, that's direct.
Okay. Paying cash.
I'm sure IRS had a giggle moment with that. And they listen to these things, by the way.
The IRS?
Yeah, they do. I had a former cousin-in-law who was a chief investigator for IRS. She said she liked listening on these programs and instructed her staff. They were investigators in the criminal section to see what they were talking about, and they'd follow up. Got a lot of prosecutions out of it.
I think I've heard that.
And she was talking about withdrawals more than 10,000 cash and stuff. So, I mean, it's sort of like, yeah, okay. And then I want to see what happens with the result of these specific transportation tickets that the wife of Wade introduced in her proceedings against him. And they list her name and they list flight and they list his name and his flight, same flight. She filed hotel accommodations in the the DMV area, as she calls it. Well, interesting coincidence that she did not know he was there at the same time and he was in the same hotel, or seat D when she was in seat C,
Well, the thing is,
airplane, but
she kept saying that she has, at one point up to 15,000 in her house in cash, and she would give him cash. She gave him 2,400 for his birthday, and when they went on a cruise, she paid him back in cash. And she's lying because, she's lying because she refused to say she used her debit card. And in this clip that I'm going to show, she was saying
Well, wait a minute. That's what I said. See, what she's testifying to as Attorney General for a district in Atlanta, Georgia, is federal criminality in violation of the Internal Revenue Code. So that's interesting that the DA is on the witness stand under oath testifying to engaging in criminality. And see, if she had thought about it, what she should have done? Taken the Fifth Amendment. See, she didn't think. She's supposed to be the chief prosecutor, and she doesn't know the Fifth Amendment. It's like,
because she wanted to get up here and run her mouth to say, I'm right, you're wrong, you're a liar. But I'm going to play this clip.
You never wrote him a check? Ma'am, I don't have checks. Okay. So you have no proof of any reimbursement for any of these things because it was all cash, right? The testimony of one witness is enough to prove a fact. So my question was, do you have any proof? Is that what you're intimating right here? I'm asking if you have any proof that you paid him any of these monies. The proof is what I just told you. You have no written proof. Is that correct? So I have some, probably some transactions like in Belize. I probably spent $500 on my card in Belize. I spent $800, I can't remember, $900 on each of our tickets to go to Belize. I did the $700. I probably got some minor expenses in Aruba that would be on a card. But for the most part, for those trips, other than, so the 2 cruises, I gave him money for those before we ever left because they were pre-booked. Let me answer. Well, the question was if you had any written proof. And so I've answered you that I've had written proof. We can move to the next question. If you've answered if you had any written proof, and that was my question. I want to make sure that we're clear that for the 2 cruises, Judge, I asked if she gave him written proof.
We're not going to talk over each other. Ms. Merchant, she answered your question, so we can ask the next question. Ms. Willis and Ms. Cross will have plenty of opportunities.
Stop a second. She didn't answer it well, so she thought she was being slick. So it looks like the judge is defending her, but actually she just got trapped in a bad situation because as it is right now, she's paid out a considerable amount of money in cash. It was not reported to IRS. There are potential taxes due to him. And when you start dealing with transactions over a certain amount, somebody wants to be privy to receipts. Where are the receipts? So that's interesting that when the judge cut that off, it looks like he's helping her out. Actually, he left her in a bad place that she put herself. Now, keep going. And one other further thing. He's going to be the decision maker. There's no jury. So
the judge is going to decide if she will be removed from the case.
Yeah, the judge, and there's some other things too. She's an officer of the court, and she acts through him, so she has betrayed her obligation to represent him responsibly as an officer of his court. So she's subject to sanctions that he can administer for her violation of his trust in her as an officer of the entity that he represents.
When your role as district attorney, you know that public funds are scrutinized and money is scrutinized and things like that. You understand.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
You understand you're under a microscope. You have reporting requirements, all of those types of things. You have no record other than your testimony of the money that you've given Mr. Wade.
You've already asked that question. Let's keep going.
He just put her in a mess
office,
again.
You had a tax lien of
Stop. See, ordinarily, if there's a jury, he'd probably let that question go in because the jury may or may not have heard it. They adrift, but he's heard it, so he's the decision maker, the trier of fact. He doesn't need to hear it again. And by listening carefully and reading between the lines, you can tell where it is in his head. Now, he doesn't mean that that's going to be conclusive, but those look like pretty much that's chiseled in stone. You know, these are going to be the facts. And when we get back and look at them, they're going to be up there. So, yeah, okay.
$4,600. Did you pay that with cash when you made that tax lien whole?
I probably paid through however you pay.
Okay.
Stop
So,
again. Stop again. See, there's another thing in here. She's opening herself up for further prosecutions because I'm sure the state of Georgia, like every other one, has a reporting requirement when an official spends funds that are going to be reimbursed by the state or that come out of state funding that has been appropriated to somebody's office. They're going to require careful rationalization. In other words, where are your receipts, et cetera, et cetera. So since this is to an extent subject to funds that were reimbursed, it's going to be problematical because to a great extent, the issue is, why didn't you disclose to somebody that you had a very personal relationship with this guy when he's supposed to be, quote unquote, independent counsel who has no connection with the district attorney's office? So if he's betting the district attorney, that's very intimate, hot, wet, and juicy connection with the entity. So that's where this is going. That's the relevance.
That you had amounts of cash. You still had that lien in 2022 when you were dating Wade and going on these trips. So the cash that you gave him, that could have been used to pay this tax lien off?
You gonna tell me how to pay my
I'm
bills?
gonna object. This is not relevant as it relates to why we're here today.
Ms. Merchant, are you trying to establish that she was insolvent in some way?
I definitely was trying to establish that she did not have these mass amounts of cash that she's talking about. Yes.
In other words, stop it. He's going to show that she is perjuring herself because she has made statements that closely proximate to this time she was destitute and broke. So if she's claiming to be destitute and broke due to a 2016 or 18 campaign, I forget which, how does she have all this cash money right in hand if she's supposed to be flat broke busted? See, she's being slick. And when the judge is listening to it, see, one witness has testified over here, another one's over here. This has come out there, and it's like a canvas, but you have different painters come in and they're all painting a picture that the trier of fact, who is not a jury here, but the judge can look at and say, I can make out what's up there. Now, how does this fit in with what you may have? I don't know if you're going to, with the testimony about her being from her about being flat, broke, busted, or at least they were questioning her about statements she had made that had been published about being flat, broke, busted. In other words, now she's saying she had $15,000 in cash in the apartment, and she's saying she had this amount of cash, but at other stages, I forget where we are right now on the examination, cross-examination of the witness, one of the parties to this action here. But it has come out that she is supposed to be destitute and busted. So that seems like interesting testimony for somebody who's in that financial condition. Go ahead.
All right.
Sorry.
Re-ask the question.
You had a tax lien in 2022.
About a minute
$4,600.
left on this.
You say I did?
And you did not use this cash that you had to reimburse Mr. Wade to pay that off, correct?
No. I went shopping too when I didn't pay it off.
And you talked about
Stop.
a lot of interviews.
That
with
was
authors.
totally inappropriate and idiotic. How do you get to be a DA and be so damn stupid? You don't do that.
What do we call that? Too smart for your own good, or
No, that's just being an ass.
okay? She was an asshole today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And see, you don't do that. And this comes from the arrogance that I have seen. And I won't be sexist when I say it. It's an observation. A lot of women professionals have this kind of attitude. It's like if it was in a guy, it would be obnoxiously cocky. In other words, hey,
No, that's fair.
back off a little bit. What the hell do you think you're doing? This is the guy that all your shit hangs on. This is the trier of fact. That's like being obnoxious and arrogant with a jury. You just don't do this. And see, that's how you could get this kind of female lawyer to lose case after case. You would evoke her ego, and you would, during the trial, exhibit some humility, and she thinks she's got you, so she would keep attacking you because I'm going to beat this guy. I'm going to beat Joe Brown. He thinks he's all this and that. I'm going to show him. And while she's trying to show everybody how she can beat you, you're kicking her ass, and she doesn't realize it because you're focused on the case. She's focused on you. And see, this kind of attitude is endemic to what happens. You're not there for a purpose, which is to represent the state of Georgia. You're there because you're showing out about yourself. Now, go on.
That's right.
I would not characterize it as a lot. I probably have spoken to them
No, I'm
2 or 3 times.
My question is relevant as to.
I think it's already come up. That finances are discussed in the book. I'll overrule that.
Thank you.
Ms. Willis, you can continue your answer.
What came up with Mr. Wade as it relates to hearsay statements that he was asked about in relation to what Ms. Willis may or may not have said in relation to an author. So it's not relevant to the testimony that's occurring at this time.
I think Ms. Merchant has said that inside the book, she also makes a statement as to her own.
I'm sorry. That was the end of that clip. A couple of other clips I do want to play.
By the way, what you had right there, you see the judge overruled the objection. They were trying to save her. But the bottom line is it was relevant. This judge impressed me. He knows what he's doing.
And I don't think she could be saved.
Well, the point of the exercise is you made representations to the court that you are an officer of, this guy's court, the judge's court. And you also not only made false statements, you had another obligation, which is to disclose things that were not asked about that should have been disclosed in the spirit of candor that befits an officer of the court. The next thing is that you have given the appearance of an impropriety. Not did you do things inappropriate, but it's even wrong for an officer of the court to give the appearance that they did. So you have besmirched the representation and the dignity of this court.
Right. I have another clip, but I want to ask you the lawyers, right? Because we briefly talked about the lawyers. Because at first I'm like the woman lawyer who was questioning her, you know, she wasn't tough. And I said that she had so much, Fani had so much sass for the woman lawyer. And I'm going to bring that clip up when she was like, that was cute. And then when the man lawyer came up, her demeanor, by that time, I guess she was calming herself down.
She was in fight mode. I picked that up, but what she's doing, she's fighting with the lawyer. She's not dealing with her case. If she paid attention to her case, and also her lawyers are not paying attention to the case. So you're looking at the lawyers on the far right of the screen that represent her. Mm-hmm. They aren't paying attention to the case because they should have jumped up and interjected the Fifth Amendment.
Why didn't they?
I
think they wanted the grandstand.
No, they didn't want a grandstand. They just didn't know. See, just because okay, let me make a direct parallel to this. You got a car. I've got a car. I've been ridden with you. You've got a driver's license. I have a driver's license. We do the thing on Formula One racing, right? Lewis Hamilton's got a driver's license. Just because the three of us are driver's licensed, do you think the two of us are as good at driving as he is? No. Well, that's the obvious thing. You're Indy 500 racer or Formula One champion. You know, you got a driver's license too to drive on the street. That doesn't mean you're as good as he is because you have one too. Just because these people have law licenses does not make them good trial lawyers. And see, trial lawyers are smart on their feet. We used to run the dozens. Hey, man, your mama. Well, man, I don't say nothing about your mama. It's like the skills are similar to a good stand-up comedian. And she probably fantasizes or sees herself with that kind of thing, but she really doesn't have it. So it's self.
So it's two things here because we was talking about Trump lawyers because it was how many 5 or 7 of them there? They all took turns. Yeah. But you said what is it that they all have in common? I said they don't have trial experience.
That's it. And see, they are big time corporate lawyers and these big firms, they handle a lot of money, but that's paperwork. So you're not dealing with ordinary folk on a jury who may be somebody that's, they get SSI, or it may be somebody whose mama is collecting a welfare check. It may be somebody that's making $62,000 a year and struggling, or it may be somebody that's making $500,000 a year, or it may be somebody with just barely got a high school diploma, and somebody may have a master's degree. So the juries vary. The lawyers try to get in voir dire and jury selection, get somebody that can commensurate with their side of things. But it's still a dice throw. It's random. And when the dice comes up, you may need a 7, but you don't have what it takes to make up 7. So you do the best you can.
Right. And the judge in this case is the deciding factor. He's the jury, he's the judge, he's the deciding factor.
Yeah,
So-
he's called the trier of fact. The trier of fact can be a man or it can be a jury. Now, when I said jury, I said a jury. See, a jury is viewed as a singular entity. It just has 12 people typically in it or on it. But it is supposed to be the reasonable man or reasonable person. So, what is a reasonable person in Anglo-Saxon / American law? It is 12 people who collectively are likely to represent what one reasonable man would be. And the French have a saying, l'intime conviction, the intimate conviction or the gut reaction of a wise man is as valuable in deciding an issue as is the English 12-man jury.
So the judge referenced several times when the Trump's lawyer were asking her repetitive questions. The judge was saying it's in the notes or it's in the paperwork. It's basically
And then reckon, in other words, it's in his mind. He remembers
right,
it.
and it's on record. A lot of this stuff is already presented to the court on record, so they don't have to say it over and over again while they're questioning her.
Okay, let me give you an example of what they're doing. See, what it is depending upon the state and how the objection is phrased, the response is sustained. The question has been asked and answered. It comes up again. The question has been asked on multiple occasions and answered. But if you can see that where the lawyer is going is somewhere else, you might permit it. Why? Okay, case I tried as a defense lawyer. This guy was trying to claim that this woman did something to him. What her story is that he had followed her to her son's school, elementary school, and he was harassing her. So I could tell where the lawyer was going, asking over and over again about certain things with school, and the prosecution was saying, ask and answer. I said, court will permit it. And then what happened was after the lawyer had trapped this guy into going over and over again about what went on, he said, well, let me ask you a question, sir. Why did all the children run from you? They were scared of you, weren't they? They weren't scared. The bell was ringing. Didn't you just say on 11 prior occasions that you weren't by there? Well, yeah, I did. Well, you said you would never by there. Finally, so how do you say the children were running because the bell was ringing and they weren't afraid of you? I thought you weren't by it. See, I'd let him go because I knew he was going to trap this guy. I see where it's going.
So that's what the Trump lawyers is trying to do, get her to keep.
But I don't think they're doing it. They are not necessarily doing anything bad. The judge, because it's lawyers and no jury, nobody in there that said anything is a layman. Everybody has been sworn in after being certified by the court agencies, the state agencies, that they're certified to practice law. They know what the law is, just like a doctor. You know, we are talking surgeons and heads of staff. Everybody knows the medical protocols. So you're talking about experts. So when he's saying that, he's not berating them. He's basically giving a signal. There ain't no point in going into that. The court's already got the point unless you have something different. Objection sustained. Let's move on. Yeah, I got that.
I wanna play this clip.
And by the way, you'll notice if you were watching this, sometimes he repeats it back what he's gotten.
Yes, I did catch that as well. All right.
Outside of the vacations that we've already talked about, did you ever go out to dinner with Mr. Wade?
I mentioned to you that
I'm going to object as to what time period. Like we're asking very vague questions. I thought we were treating the witness as hostile under 611. We're no longer doing that. So we're going to go back and forth. We need to be more specific with our questions if we're going to treat her as hostile.
All right, Ms. Merchant, it's not so much. I think you can elect between leading and open-ended questions, but I think we are still wondering about, and I think we need to get back on track of focusing on the financial benefit or the relationship.
And
By the way,
next
that's what
question
I
about
do
if you did go
sometimes
out to
when we
dinner,
got these
who
things
paid
going on this venue.
when you went out to dinner?
He paid, I paid.
You both paid.
Okay, so let me be real clear. We didn't say, oh, the bill is $102. You give $51, I'll give $51. I don't operate like that with my girlfriends. I don't operate like that with anyone.
That was
Caught the bill, I
unnecessary.
caught the bill. Whomever.
That was
Did you ever
gratuitous bullshit.
Pay him through
That
Cash
was
App.
unnecessary.
No.
You only ever paid him through cash.
Well, yes. We're talking about.
Time
I'm
out.
very confused.
You've
now.
never-
Time out. This heifer does not have American Express, Visa, MasterCard in her purse.
What she should have said was, if we're out to dinner and I'm paying, I just use my card.
Yeah, or we,
Or if he's
it, which
cash
it's
for his card. So
hey, it's in the record. We were lovers. We just did the things we did. It didn't have anything to do with the state's funding or what went on to show,
but let me
any
ask
kind
you this,
of
though.
bias.
Let me ask you this. Is she not directly saying debit card or whatever, because she thinks in her head they're trying to set up a case saying that I'm using my salary, taxpayer dollars.
No. That's not what they're doing. In other words, what's happening is this is a kind of situation where if it was anything else, your client wouldn't take the stand because this stuff would come out. Now, she's saying that she's paying cash when the case is all about why are you paying cash when anybody in your position, you're the district attorney, goddammit. You mean to tell me you don't have a Visa, MasterCard, American Express? Who pays cash these days at a restaurant? We know you're no. Let me finish with what I was doing. Who pays with cash in a restaurant? We know you're lying through your damn teeth. Quit bullshitting everybody, because everybody pays with a credit card. You mean to tell me you walk around with that kind of cash in your purse and you're worried about somebody hijacking you in Atlanta and you pay nobody pays for cash. You don't even know what the bill's gonna be. So, okay, I estimate 250, 350, 500 in a good Atlanta restaurant when you wine and dine. So,
why didn't she just say I use my card?
yeah, well, see, the point is they are trapping her ass in a lie because she's bullshitting. Everybody uses goddamn credit card. You do not go out to how do you know what it's gonna cost? You got all this, you get some cash in your pocket.
Cash. She went to Belize with $4,000. Who does that? All right, let me just play this clip. Let me just, it's about a minute.
In other words, she's trying. If you ever dealt with a con man,
I don't know, probably, yeah.
And their stories just don't line up when you start questioning them intently. See, I do that sometimes. It looks strange, but what my art is that you ask disassociated questions and they may not look like they have anything to do with each other, but they add up in terms of the answer. So what we have is this woman goes out with an indeterminate amount of cash in her purse at her access, no telling what the bill may be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Nobody does that.
Right. All right, let me play this.
Ever given Mr. Wade money through Cash App?
No,
The only money you've ever given him outside of a contract is cash.
I didn't give him money in a contract, so that was cute. But I didn't give him money outside in a contract. What happened? No, we're gonna answer it since you said it.
Well, she signs the damn paycheck.
He worked more hours than he was paid, and the county paid him for the work that he did.
Time out. Right now, it is developed that the bill that the state of Georgia has already paid is somewhere between $650,000 and $695,000 a year. That's more than all of the other lawyers combined who are working on this have been paid. It also is worth more than the $350,000, $380,000 a year that the Attorney General for the United States is paid to handle all of the business from the United States of America. It is more than the President of the United States gets paid, which, if I recall, last time it takes about $480,000 a year. So for this one case of prosecuting an American president, which is not yet over, he's already been paid 1.25 times the yearly salary of the President of the United States. And the point is it's on billing. And what they're getting into is this interesting thing. Okay, you claim there was no conflict here, but yet what is developed is that you saw to it that he and you shared money reimbursed by the state of Georgia that is more than the Attorney General of the United States of America gets, is more than the President of the United States, one of whom is being prosecuted, gets. And by the way, this guy has never handled a criminal case in his life, so he's getting paid more than any of the other people who are supposedly under him for this, and he's a rookie.
All right, let me finish playing the video.
That's context.
I didn't give him money in a contract, so that was cute, but I didn't give him money out in a contract. What happened? No, we're gonna answer it since you said it. He worked more hours than he was paid, and the county paid him for the work that he did.
Your Honor, if I might be permitted to explain, go right ahead. She had to be cute about it. Go ahead.
So don't be cute with me and then think that you're not going to get an answer.
And I will ask you about the contract in a minute. I asked you.
Now stop. What if the judge said, well, she's going to get an answer if you're not going to be defiant at this court? You will answer the question. But you see, this is how she's used to maybe being in front of a jury on the rare occasion she gets in front of a jury.
And she's embarrassed because you are district attorney for Fulton County and you're being questioned. See, you're not behind the lawyer desk being a lawyer. You're being crossed. No. You're on a stand.
It's worse than that. It's worse than that. Let me translate it for you. We're listening to you talk about how you paid for some dick.
Right.
That's what you're listening to. And by the way, most people don't know this. The law deals with basic humanity. And it deals with these things. That's motivation behind a lot of stuff that winds up in front of a court. So she's paying for dick. And she got caught at it because she couldn't do without it. And she wanted to do it a favor and woo it away from his wife. And she was paying for dick. And she was creating a conflict. And the dumbass idiot was so deep into getting the dick that she did it with one of the highest profile cases in American history. Not only that, it comes up later, she'll be trying to justify it because it comes out. You bought the dick. Because she's trying to say, here's the other thing. Well, a man might say that it was called off, but you know, we women, we have to get into the final. We have to ask the question.
Yeah, too fast.
I looked at that and said,
find that
oh, damn, you really don't realize you telling us, trying to justify buying you a fuck. You buying you a boy toy on the elevated level.
Listen, but what she did say is, when the man stops being physical, that's when it is over with him.
Yeah.
For us, we need the uncomfortable conversation for us because we're emotional. That is true. So, because she said in his eyes, in his world, in his mind, Nathan broke up. They broke up June, July. But in her mind, they broke up in August because that's when they had the conversation. August of 2023.
In other words, prior to the conversation, he could have got the booty, but she was paying for it, so she mad that she paid for it. But it wasn't her that paid for it. See, these are billings to the state of Georgia, and she's giving him money. So you're trying to say...
Wait, so let me ask you...
Wait, but look at the big picture. Let me lay it out for you real quick. It's like, I'm independent, he's independent. This had nothing to do that influenced the case. Well, if that is the situation, why are you paying all this money out of your pocket and lying about it? Because you know what you did. If you paid it cash, you were deliberately trying to hide it. Because if you paid it for cash, it wasn't just like spur of the moment. You were trying to conceal it. So that compounds it, because anybody else acting straight up front would have used a credit card.
Exactly. And
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, let me tell you what you have been looking at. You know this is a lie. How many of you go out and every time you go to a restaurant, you pay cash? You don't. You have a credit card, ladies and gentlemen. And this woman got on the witness stand and under oath tried to bamboozle you with the impression that on all these occasions she paid cash. You know that is not true. You see, but you don't have a jury because the judge is the trier of fact. And you see, he's letting you know when he keeps saying question is in essence asked and answered. I got it. I haven't forgotten.
I want to let me just finish this, like a minute left.
Yeah.
Did you ever pay him anything? And I'm trying to qualify my questions. I'm not talking about the contract with Fulton County that was paid. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about outside of that. Did you ever pay him anything other than cash?
I've only given him cash a few times in the course of what we're talking about.
So you've
If
never
we
used
would
a
go to
credit card?
dinner,
Let her finish her answer.
if we would go to dinner, I wouldn't give him cash because he paid for dinner or I paid for dinner. I've given him cash only a few times in life, probably 4.
Okay.
Probably the most money I've ever handed him is $2,500. The least amount of money I've handed him, probably between $500 and $1,000.
The least?
This is the clip that I want to play. Right. And you hit it right, because she also said she believed women should pay their own fair share, 50-50. And I'm like, girl,
$45,000 up there. Yeah.
you be that independent woman. That's why you in trouble now.
But you saw that up there, $45,000. You know, that was the figure that got put up in there. So
this is the point. This lawyer here, I think he caught her in a lie because she paused and tried to cover it up.
yeah, she did. He called her. See, it's called close and vigorous cross-examination of the witness to expose discrepancies, contradictions, etc., etc. So that's what they're trying to do. But the judge is saying, move on because I already got it.
And speaking of Cash App,
did you pop that thing?
This?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You're into the pop. And yeah, there you go.
Yeah. She said when she was renting a condo from her associate, she said that woman wasn't a friend, even though that woman testified. But she said
and you don't forget the part where that woman and her had never been in the apartment at the same time. And remember what the woman testified to. And remember her justification. It was for her personal safety. But then remember, she had to move out of her place because of threats. But her father, who I know, who is the lawyer, retired, in there. He's in there. And remember, she's supposed to move to this apartment. But the question comes in is, if she's in a condition where she's suffering physical threats that are credible, why has she got her children involved in being where there are threats?
Well, she said that they didn't stay at the apartment. They just visited her. And if they spent the night, it was just one night. But I want to play this clip because this is the one where she slipped up and told on herself. This is 4 minutes. So
go ahead.
Yes, sir.
You had contact with Mr. Wade in the year 2020, correct?
I had some contact with Mr. Wade.
Would you explain when you say some contact? Please tell us, talking about 2020.
I had some contact with Mr. Wade in 2020. One of the reasons your allegations are so preposterous, or Ms. Merchants that you have joined, is
Ma'am,
No, no,
I
no,
didn't
no,
ask you
just-
about the allegations. I asked you about your contact. That's all I ask you. Okay? I appreciate that you want to say something, but I'm interested in, did you have contacts with Mr. Wade in 2020? And your answer so far has been yes, correct?
very limited contact because Mr. Wade had a form of cancer that makes your allegations somewhat ridiculous.
And I do appreciate the
I'm not going
characterization.
to emasculate a black man, but I'm just telling you.
I'm
that
sorry, what?
I'm
A
not going to
black man?
emasculate a black man. Did you understand that?
All
Well, I don't
let's
think
get
we should
back
discuss
on
Wait,
track.
wait, what's that got to do with it?
You did. Listen, she had to throw race up in there.
God damn.
And I'm like, why are you saying to the court this man? Okay, if he had cancer in 2020, why y'all going out to restaurants to eat?
Well,
But-
probably prostate cancer, which is what she's trying to say, so there wasn't any fucky going on, or not much of it. Head, hell, I don't know. That's their business. But you see, she gratuitously keeps introducing these elements that otherwise would not be admissible. So what is she doing to herself?
a violation as well to say somebody had cancer, and that's not your place to say that. So
Yeah, I mean, it's just.
You saying he had cancer? You saying I'm not going to emasculate a black man? Well, how are you emasculating him?
And what's that got to, like, black men aren't exactly the only people that come down with prostate cancer.
Right. All right. I'm going to finish.
Next question.
Trying to, Your Honor. Would you tell us on the occasions in 2020 that you had contact with Mr. Wade?
I'm sorry, I thought I had answered that. Yes, sir. There were times in 2020 I had contact, but 2020 was a year I was running for office. It was a year that he was going through some serious medical issues, and I did not have much contact, but I certainly had contact with him in 2020.
Did you go out to eat with him?
Maybe, probably.
Did you visit him in any location, his office, or did he visit you in your office in 2020?
I am sure I'm sure. Ooh, that's a very good question. I'm sure he came to 750 in 2020.
750
was my office.
Okay.
Not often, but maybe once or twice. Maybe I went to his office once or twice, but maybe once.
And the purpose for going to his office would have been what?
Maybe we would have went to Mellow Mushrooms for pizza, or
He just asked you if you went out to
I'm sure
lunch.
we went by each other's office though, but not often, not a lot. We both.
Wait a minute,
grind
once or
trucks.
twice, not often or not a lot. See, she just fucks it up right there. She's destroying her credibility as a witness.
But I understand what you've said about the cancer, and I'm not going into that. But when you were going out with him to restaurants, or when he would come to your office, right? Those were not sterile environments, were they?
Oh, very sterile, because it
The
was
restaurants were sterile environments?
a lot of times we wouldn't eat there. We would pick up something and go in, but they were.
Oh, goddamn. Stop. Why'd she put that in there? You go to somebody to a restaurant and you don't talk? Oh, God.
And you see how she caught herself, and she was thinking, she was trying to think on her toes. And it's like, you just said you haven't went out, but y'all went to the restaurant. And he said, well, how was the restaurant sterile? She was like, well, sometimes we would just take it to go. And he was like, well, then where would you go after you take it out? Where would you eat? So you either got to say back to your house or to your office. And you just said you don't remember him coming to your office in 2020. Mind you, 2020 was a lockdown.
She hadn't even gone into that. I guess
that's why he kept asking her about 2020. Not only was it the lockdown, it was COVID. That was the election year. So, but and so during the election year, you running around town during COVID with a so-called cancer patient having lunch in a restaurant in public, paying in cash, allegedly.
pick up and take
The same people who end up trying to prosecute Trump on election fraud.
it to where?
maybe eat at our office, but it did not happen much. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. And my office in 2020, nobody was coming in. I was stir crazy, so I would still go into my office. You remember when I started this, I said, I am not even sure if we came to each other's offices, but I am trying to be over cautious. So I think I can recall him at 750 a couple of times. I just think I can recall him at 750 once, but let's say twice. I have seen his office. I remember all the awards in the lobby, but I'm not sure in 2020.
Why did she throw that
I'm not
in?
even sure I went in 2020 at all. I just want to tell you yes, because I'm not sure. But I have a distinct recollection of him at 750. I actually don't have a distinct recollection of me at his office in 2020. But maybe I went to his office in 2020. Maybe.
Now, wait a minute. Let's stop a minute.
Did you have?
Stop a minute. This is the woman in charge of prosecuting criminals in Atlanta, or part of Atlanta. And this is all she knows about life coming across this way. How's she going to represent the people of the state and of the district that, well, her district that embraces Atlanta, or parts of Atlanta? I mean, really? This is embarrassing. And this is not a rookie. This is, well, maybe a rookie, but this is the person in charge. This is boss lady.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you wonder why there's crime that's not dealt with?
Or you have a whole bunch of rappers on trial, and you want their lyrics to be put in as evidence. You don't have any physical evidence.
And this is the person that is pointing the finger. What is the thing? If you live in glass houses, don't throw stones. And this is the ignorance that's at the top in charge of the prosecution, conceiving with this kind of ignorant state of mind what ought to be prosecuted and how to prosecute it, and is in charge of everything that happens. No wonder it's gone to hell.
And this is a RICO trial. You know, and sometimes in RICO trials, you don't need physical evidence, but both trials with the Trump and the YSL's RICO.
I was saving that for later. This is a RICO trial, organized crime. And what is the main thing? Too much cash that they got to launder because they can't get away with spending it. And that's part of the whole damn thing for ordinary RICO trials, real ones. And this chick doesn't even know it. She's prosecuting what all political parties do as though it's organized crime. And gravamen of organized crime is all this cash money, cash transactions that have to get laundered. Good gracious.
Exactly.
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. That was the end of that video. I want to bring up his testimony, and because I have a timestamp that I just want to play with him, with Nathan. But I want to ask you this question first. Do you think overall that their relationship was inappropriate?
Yes. In other words, see, what we haven't even talked about is the code of ethics for our lawyers and the judges say that it is inappropriate to represent or be involved in the representation when there is a close relationship behind the scenes. So what they're showing is that she should have disclosed this because the ethics code say you have to. In other words, she didn't. And nowadays they aren't married, but they sure as hell were sticking. So you playing the co-ed push-up thing, that certainly qualifies as something that needs to be candidly disclosed. So it wasn't. So you have an ethics violation here. And it gives the appearance of impropriety, which cast an aspersion on the court. She is an officer of that court. And by the way, he's not out of it too. He should have disclosed that as well. Now she and both of them have put themselves in a trick bag. How do you explain $650,000 to $695,000 when this is an excessive amount of money?
That's how
And
much he was paid.
Yeah, so far he's not through. This isn't a flat fee for the case. This is just billings so far. Now, what in the world is going on? And by the way, if anybody asks that, that's an appearance of impropriety that provokes it. So that should not be.
Right.
So she's violated the ethics codes by causing those questions to be asked with reasonability sufficient to cause the judge himself to make a formal inquiry.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of the world is watching. So,
all right, somebody say he didn't pay taxes. I don't know about his taxes, but I gotta look into that. But
and as on gifts, which is what we're talking about so far, we've seen an official figure of at least 45,000 in gifts that have developed, and no telling how much. You see, that's so far what's been discovered, but we don't have any receipts. We don't have any cards. We don't have any writings. We don't have any recordation. So if there's a credibility issue, somebody, some trial fact might infer that a lot more money has been involved than what can be documented, because none of it's supposed to be documented, remember?
Mm-hmm. And let me play, because I want to just play 2 minutes or 3 minutes of him speaking. And I just wanted to highlight when he took the stand, he wasn't irate, combative. He was cool about it.
On to police with Miss Willis, correct?
Again, I believe all of this is our.
I think you might be getting somewhere new. We'll see.
Right.
Yes, sir. So we've got the trip in to Belize on March the 18th, 2023. You and Miss Willis, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, 2 months later, you follow the interrogatories that speak for themselves that we've gone over a few minutes ago, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, the March the 18th, 2023, to state the obvious, is before May the 30th, 2023. Will you agree with me on that?
I do.
Okay. So then you tell us that Miss Willis paid you in cash all the money for the entire trip. It was a gift for you for your birthday, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I'm sure you probably have the deposit slips where you took the cash and deposited the cash into your account, don't you?
I did not deposit the cash in my account.
You don't have a single solitary deposit slip to corroborate or support any of your allegations that you were paid by Mrs. Willis in cash, do you?
No, sir.
Not a single solitary one.
Not a one.
Now, when Miss Willis would pay you in cash, would you scamper down to the ATM with her and as she drew money out of her account to pay you these thousands of dollars?
Mr. Gillen might scamper, but there's been no evidence that Mr. Wade does. I object to the phrasing, the argumentative nature of the question.
On that issue, overruled.
Did you and Miss Wade scamper down to the ATM machine and have?
What'd you say?
You saw the judge overrule that objection. In other words, go ahead, just cross-examination, go for it.
Ever dry out? For example, on the Belize trip, just on your payment would have been $2,794.
Miss Wade.
For clarity, yeah, thank you.
Pardon
me? Miss Wade and I didn't go to Belize.
No, excuse me, Miss Willis. I'm sorry. Did you go down to the ATM with Miss Willis while she drew out $2,794 to pay you in cash? That you did you go to the ATM with her?
No, sir. She didn't go to the ATM. She carried the cash.
Oh, and so she would give you the cash Did you have a little place in your house where you just stack up all this cash that you apparently got to repay you for these benefits that you bestowed on her?
And Mr. Gillen, if I answered that, I'm putting myself in jeopardy. If I tell the world that I have cash someplace in my home, don't you think that could be problematic?
No, I don't. I want an answer as to whether or not you have a little cash hoard in your house where you have allegedly taken the money that you got from Mrs. Willis and went and put it somewhere. Where'd you put it?
No, sir.
Now, just put it on the hip and kind of walk around money?
Did I put it on my hip
Yeah, just walking around money where you would spend cash yourself?
Let me finish. Did I put it on my hip in Belize and walk around with
No,
it?
when you got paid back, would you take the money, the cash that she gave you, and would you just carry it around with you for spending money around town?
So we have to break down each trip because, for example, for the cruise, she paid me the money before we took the cruise. So I was here and I could put the money in my pocket or put it away wherever I wanted to do with it. Other trips, she would give me the money there. So at that point, I could either spend it or put it in my pocket or put it in the hotel safe.
There's no special place that you would have all this cash that you would be getting from her that you've told us about to pay back for the benefits that you have bestowed on her?
The only special place that cash would have gone would have been to one of my children.
Okay. Now, are you aware, have you discussed these pleadings with Ms. Willis?
No, sir.
So there's been no discussion between you and Ms. Willis about the allegation concerning the benefits that you have bestowed on her? Is that correct?
To the phrasing, the benefits bestowed upon her, I don't believe that's an accurate reflection of the testimony, and I don't think that's the appropriate question.
I think overruled. You can answer the question.
Okay. When you said proceedings, are you talking about the divorce proceedings? Because we were talking about the interrogatories. To that question, the answer is no. If you're go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead with your answer. I'll hear the complete answer, then I'll follow up.
Okay. If you're asking me about this hearing, the proceedings of this hearing, have we discussed the financial piece based upon Mr. Roman's motion? Yes.
So you have discussed the financial piece. Where did that discussion take place?
Conference room.
Were you other people there, or were you and Ms. Willis discussing this about what your position was going to be?
The relevance of this.
Mr. Gillen?
And the relevance has to do with suddenly we have a declaration from Mr. Wade in this case where he says roughly.
All right, so I'm just gonna pause it there with him, but I just want to highlight it's a lot of cash, and they're stuck on cash. No checks, no cash apps, no credit cards, no debit cards. Everything is in cash. But that lawyer made a valid point. So all the cash he gave you, you didn't deposit in the bank? No. Who does that? And he's like, well, I put myself in jeopardy if I say what I did with it, leave it in my house. No.
Well, yeah, that is a security inference, but it's not relevant to the lawsuit. He could be compelled to testify. And he too, remember, he does not have a criminal background by his own admission.
He sounds slick.
Oh, wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. First Amendment, Second Amendment, Third Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Fifth. Fifth Amendment, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and may be used in evidence against you. This shit is in open court under oath, and it's evidence that he's giving it against himself. And I guarantee you there's an IRS criminal investigator, several of them, quite a few of them, writing this shit down, and they just agreed to hire 83,000 criminal investigators or 63,000 for the IRS who will be armed and dangerous. By the way, little side effect, if there's an ideal agency to host a secret police for the United States is IRS, because they have access to just about all of your personal information, finances, and resources. And these idiots, she represents some of them, or is representative of them. These idiots, you want them in charge of 83,000 armed thugs who will arrogantly go out and get in all of your business, who do not need to have a search warrant because they will have immediate access to IRS information. Now, they might catch him and catch her, but you don't want them out there. That's just an aside, so I'll move on from it. It was a sidebar.
Muted myself.
That was awful expensive booty, by the way.
And you mean some expensive dick?
Yeah, well, him too, because he might go to jail too with IRS getting on his ass. He better hope Boss Trump does not win and get a real U.S. attorney instead of the one Garland they had. It was just a pushover. And remember me telling you years ago, I said Trump was going to give the Republican Party everything they thought they wanted up front and then slowly get rid of them when they proved to be ineffective. That's what happened with his U.S. attorney, attorney general. I never was particularly impressed, but go ahead.
I want to ask you to sum up, because now, she's not tomorrow morning, she has to come back. Yeah. And we're going to have to do a little 30-minute pre-record on that, but we could do it over the weekend.
My impression of what it is, very simple. When you put yourself in this situation by indicting a president of the United States for some bullshit nobody's ever gotten indicted for in 235 years, you ought to have had the sense to have known that you were going to be under careful scrutiny, all I's to be dotted, T's to be crossed. And you hire your boyfriend to be the special prosecutor with whom there's supposed to be no connection. And then you not only do that, you and he have managed to build the state of Georgia between $650,000 and $695,000, and the tab would still be going on if the wife had not filed this stuff against him in the divorce proceeding. And then you get up and you want to show that you knew it. See, this is where we're going with this. She knew good and well this is wrong. That's why she didn't use credit cards. That's why she used cash to hide it.
And if she's lying about all the cash, that's why she's lying about everything was done in cash.
Yeah, but no. The problem is not that she's lying about it being used in cash. The problem is it was likely in cash, just like she's claiming. But what she doesn't realize is that is just straight up in neon glowing signs. You paid cash because you knew you were doing wrong and you didn't want a record of it. Now you're trying to excuse it.
And let me add this as far as arrogance. Arrogance on her and her office part. Do you really think everybody want to say Trump it doesn't matter. Do you really think someone who was or is or was a sitting president and you bring him up on charges, you got something going on in New York, DC, and here in Georgia, do you really think that you were just going to ride off in the sunset? Why do people, they don't know how dangerous, how dirty and connected when we talk about politics. I think Trump team, his investigators, whoever, had this already in the clip last summer. And
They
it was,
might have.
and they probably was like, this is our timeline on how we're going to execute it. So what made you think that this was not going to come out? Are you that arrogant?
That's the arrogance. We'll get away with it. But you see, I read her 92-page indictment against Trump, or the one that they got. And, you know, there are several counts in there that allege that Trump committed felonies by recommending that people view or read Newsmax articles. I mean, when you start taking that kind of position where you start trampling on the Bill of Rights and the fundamental prerogatives and rights of all American citizens, people are going to look at you. And you don't have sense enough to keep yourself out of this. And then the other thing, see, the court is with this, the appearance of impropriety. Even if she had not done anything wrong, it sure as hell looks like she had. The appearance.
Exactly.
And that is in the Georgia Code of Ethics, Tennessee Code of Ethics, California Code of Ethics, New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Delaware, Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio. That's in the Code of Ethics. That's to be avoided. And she didn't. So she's got ethical violations, perjury violations. She violated the thing. The very least that might happen is her removal. She might lose her law license. She and he could both possibly be prosecuted for IRS tax evasion, also for a number of other things, also for fraud, also for embezzling from the for making false reports and claims, etc., etc. So you notice the judge, by the way, has said he's not going to let certain things come in when it comes to citations of various Georgia criminal statutes. That's because he's trying to get away from this. If that pops up, then as the jurist, he has a duty, especially since he's a criminal court judge. If that pops up, you know what he's supposed to do? Before you continue your testimony, the court must advise you that you have rights under the Fifth Amendment to the United States to remain silent. You cannot be compelled to testify against yourself. Anything you say can and may be used, etc. In other words, he needs to Mirandize him. But he has avoided any bring up on the record of potential criminal liability. And these clowns, who one of them is supposed to be in charge of prosecution, and one of them, even though he has no criminal experience, is supposed to be a special prosecutor. I can't hear you, by the way. Did you mute yourself? So it's not a pretty picture. But then it displays.
No, I'm sorry. I was on the phone. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but it displays an arrogance that's typical of the criminals that are so prevalent these days, particularly when you run into web fraud and people who use the internet to commit fraud. It's amazing arrogance, but you just saw, unfortunately, from the chief prosecutor in a major city in the United States, you just saw an illustration of the same kind of thing. I am above the law.
Right. Exactly. You're trying to charge somebody for being above the law, but you yourself is acting above the law. Show is not over. This was a deep dive. This is really part one. She's going to Fani the Mammy is taking a stand tomorrow morning. And sometime over the weekend, I will be grabbing you so we could pre-record something, honey, on part two of it. But I wanted to You know how we started doing, we really started pre-recording our CRT Black Media Breakdown wokeness, the woke content, and do you want to do it tonight, or should we pre-record it tomorrow?
We might as well.
Right, because we're okay. So I want to start off with this. And guys, please hit the like button. Please share this video. Oh, and let me acknowledge, first of all, thank you, Steve Mayfield, for the lovely super chat here. Thank you. Yeah. And thank you. Fernandez, I love you back. Thank you. Alchemy, thank you. Judge Joe Brown, shouldn't she be disbarred and thrown in jail? Well, he just answered that as well.
Well, yeah, that arguably would suffer subject to someone to disciplinary proceedings by the state bar. Disbarment is a possibility, at least a public censure or sanction.
Mm-hmm.
There are some things that could flow out of this. They arguably, both of the two of them, have left themselves open to IRS for tax evasion.
Mm-hmm.
And it leads to other things too. And there is this point that is developing from nearby Cobb County, which also goes into Georgia. There are allegations that come out of there about massive judicial corruption, not impugning this particular judge. He looks to be doing a good job to me.
Yeah.
He's upholding for the profession.
Okay.
But Atlanta has got all kinds of problems. We have a cloud over our chief of police who was involved in something when she was chief down in Atlanta. We got this kind of thing which just says this is not the way the chief prosecutor in a major city is to think. They're not supposed to think like this.
Right. All right. I want to go into this now.
Another question comes up.
On what? On the Fannie?
On the end, what is going on is intense work. Ordinarily, if you can get out of doing it so somebody else has to do it, your paycheck hasn't been diminished, you bail. And if you've accepted this public job, you're not supposed to worry about outside income. So why is she so determined to keep this case in her pocket or her bedroom when she was supposed to be getting an independent counsel who had absolutely no connection with her because some issues had been raised about her enthusiasm and pre-election promises about this case? You are not supposed to hold a judicial or quasi-judicial office, which the district attorney general is being such an office. You are not supposed to indicate that you have a predilection as to what you're going to do because justice may demand something else. And you have to be fair, impartial, neutral, and detached. The district attorney is also charged with bringing justice. And sometimes in the process of bringing justice, it lies upon him or her to dismiss charges in the interest of justice. So this woman, without being privy to any of the evidence, any of the investigations, indicated a firm commitment to an outcome before she even got the office. That whole lack of detachment is becoming ever so obvious because she even compromises her own situation because she's so hog-ass determined to keep this case in her grasp instead of letting it go to avoid the appearance of impropriety. Now, that's another thing we didn't discuss, but it's important.
And you could elaborate more on that in part 2 because we're going to have to do a part 2 on this. So I want to go to the woke content. That's what we're calling it, right? The wokeness. You tweeted this out today. Left-wing billionaire George Soros buying hundreds of American radio stations ahead of 2024 election.
That's a bad headline. He's buying up just about all of the Black and Hispanic ones. And most of the context, see, is this. Most of the conservative radio stations are within the umbrella that he just bought 40% of. So,
Let me read a little bit of the article here. It says George Soros, the left's favorite billionaire, is buying up American radio stations by the hundreds ahead of 2024 election. This is obviously part of a strategy because that's what Soros does. He hatches backdoor plans to exert influence over American politics. A few years back, he pumped tons of cash into district attorney races across the country, and we all know how that worked out. This is his new plan. Could there be more to this than gaining media influence? What else is here? So he purchased potentially controlling a stake in America's second largest chain of radio stations. According to bankruptcy filings Wednesday in New York Post, his Soros fund management has bought $400 million of debt in Odyssey chain. Fund stake comes to about 40% at the value of 50 cents on a dollar. Although not majority, that could yield effective control of the media giant when it emerges from bankruptcy. Republican insider close to the situation told the Post that Mr. Soros could be making an election year purchase in a bid to influence public opinion, which is scary. So what is he pushing? He is pushing the CRT, the DEI, Trump is a racist, all the left Democrat talking points so that his particular candidates can stay in office or be elected. And part of that is a lot of times, you have to consider when we look at the Roland Martins, when we look at what's the other, the Griot, all of these Black media outlets, supposed to be major Black media outlets, they are working under the umbrella of the Biden administration or a person like George Soros. That's who is funding them. And they push the DEI, CRT, woke content BS, which is a problem. And it's media people like myself, we're grassroots, and other people, a lot of people, whether they're on Twitter space and even other YouTubers, we're the total opposite, where we're very independent and we're pushing another narrative, the actual truth and facts.
I'm trying to bring up a chart on one example of what Soros did that directly influences stuff to show it. See, Roland Martin stuff would get pushed.
Mm-hmm.
But now, just imagine what happens if you are a conservative and this man is in charge of calling the shots on what happens with you, whether your commercial revenue is properly distributed or just a clerical error causes it to be held up for a critical 2 weeks. Larry Elders is carried by this group. Now, do you think Larry Elders is going to get a fair shake with Soros? Or will it just happen to, oh my God, somebody made a clerical error? Yeah, we did it, but what are you going to do about it? It'll be too late by the time you get through doing something. See, that's what the deal is. And the other one that is very disturbing is George Soros's shenanigans with One West Bank out in California, Kamala Harris. Mnuchin was involved deeply with Obama's administration. And what happened is Soros works through Kamala Harris's secretary and funds tens of millions of dollars into her campaign for Attorney General of the state of California. Soros' investment in One West Bank that Mnuchin is CEO for is subject to 5,200 plus counts of indictments. San Diego County, San Joaquin County, Orange County, LA County, Ventura County, Santa Barbara County, et cetera, et cetera. She consolidates all of them and dismisses them. And it is just a week or two after she does that, Soros sells One West Bank for $4.2 billion. You see, now that something smells. I had neighbors that got jacked up in the mortgage bundling fraud that came out of that got exposed. And these people were desperately seeking relief from this. So what happens? Kamala Harris consolidates all the indictments, dismisses them, and they're stuck in limbo with all of these clouds over the titles to their property. No.
Actually, speaking of Kamala Harris, let me bring this up. Let me pan this out a little bit because it is Black History Month. And it says, descendants of Black icons gather at the White House in a historic meeting. Families of Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, Booker T. Washington, Ida B. Wells, Malcolm X, Rosa Parks, Emmett Till, and more will meet in some cases for the first time. So Vice President Kamala Harris addressed the descendants of some of the most prominent civil rights leaders from the 1950s. Make this bigger. And other foundational historical figures who gather at the White House on Tuesday, convening in the same room for the first time. The families of Frederick Douglass, like I just read, Emmett Till, Malcolm X, and so forth, and Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings, among others, were scheduled to attend. Harris praised the descendants of extraordinary American heroes. They've passed the baton to us, she says. Stephen K. Benjamin, director of White House Office of Public Engagement, followed Harris to recap the administration initiatives, including an executive order tied to police accountability and Joe Biden signing a law to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. All of this, no public policy specifically for Black Americans, not even using the word African Americans, for economic mobility. No, you just praising the fact that he made Juneteenth a federal holiday. So, yeah, I'm not going to say who cares, but just because you had the descendants of these prominent Black figures, right? The Booker T's, the Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, the Malcolm X, their descendants, what does that have to do with Black America? What is going on today? What does that have to do with public policies? There's no public policies coming out of this. They had 100 guests attend. So beyond the gathering, a series of activities for the descendant families will be held in the district on both Tuesday and Wednesday. Itinerary expected to include stops at the U.S. Capitol, the Lincoln Memorial, Supreme Court, and tour the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture. No mention of reparations.
Well, not only that, what else is missing?
What else?
What about descendants of H. Rap Brown?
Oh, the Black Panthers.
Malcolm X. No, H. Rap Brown.
Well, Malcolm X descendants were there.
Yeah, they got them there. Did you get Muhammad Ali's descendants there? Did you get the people that are really out doing something? Or did you get the showpieces? And which one of the descendants did you get? In other words,
what is the purpose?
Families after a couple of generations, they split up. They've got all kinds of interesting.
Right. But the thing is, why did you had Thomas Jefferson descendants, and they came about by way of the R word, through
not so much rape, but
stop. Come on.
Was a concubine.
I said the R word for a reason, Judge.
We're on that. I thought we were. Well, anyway, the concubine.
It doesn't matter. It was the R word, but the point is, what is the point of doing this if no public policies or nothing significant is going to come out of it.
Because you're supposed to be stupid enough to be impressed by the appearances.
Like this, the Hip Hop Task Force.
Oh, I knew you were leading there. Cute, real cute.
A coalition of Democrats are looking to use the power of music to tackle some of the most pressing issues facing Black and brown Americans.
Translation. Negroes are so damn stupid that they get impressed more by music than issues. Okay, I'm insulted. How about you? Anyway.
Yes. Representative Jamal Bowman, Democrat of New York, on Wednesday unveiled the Congressional Hip Hop Power and Justice Task Force outside of the Capitol. The task force, led by Bowman, will use hip hop's messaging of building a more equitable society to help spearhead initiatives to address economic equality, affordable housing, and racial justice imperatives. How the hell is hip hop going to do that?
Because, translation, they think Negroes are so damn stupid that they don't know any better. So, yeah, I'd be grievously insulted, very insulted. And nobody gets that. They're going, oh, you put together so we can be entertained. No, I don't give a goddamn about entertainment. Show me the issues and what's going to happen out of this. And I found it, by the way.
Wait 1 second. Let me finish this article. Artists like Eric B. and Rakim, Queen Latifah, Chuck D, Public Enemy inspired New York lawmaker throughout his life. That's what he says, including during his time as educator. They were very instrumental in creating a curriculum and blueprint for my life. I owe a lot of who I am to the lessons that they taught me on and through their music. Hip hop, which celebrated its 50th anniversary last year in August, has often used a political tool for Black and brown Americans. And Bowman said he hopes to capitalize on that through task force. You know what this is? I.e. translation. This means that the Democrat Party, the Congressional Black Caucus, is going to cut a check to all these rappers, the Queen Latifahs, the Fat Joes, the Public Enemies, and even these new and current rappers, probably the Sexy Red and the Cardi B, to promote and endorse Joe Biden. That's all this is. It is a trick bag effect to make us believe that we could get racial economic equality through song, i.e. via hip hop. No, you're going to.
I cuss all of them out. I'm glad I'm not in front of them because I cuss them out for even having the audacity to embarrass their people with this slur, this gross insult.
Do you see,
you know what this is?
Do you see Asian Americans Hip Hop Task Force or Hindu Music Task Force? Do you see Jewish people task? No,
they don't. You know what else? You know what is this is an extension of? Remember the one they had in 2016? Take your booties to the poll. 2020, take your booties to the poll.
And then
stupid Negro males are supposed to vote because they got some women, including a third of them being tranny queers, working on the poll, flashing bare behind, and you're supposed to go run out to vote for the Democrats because they flashed some ass at you.
And then what happened 2 years later? No fluckling, no voting, no fluckling. So, and then, they had
no voting, no flucking.
Yeah, they had Saucy Santana and Trina rap. Just ignorant.
And then the whole thing with the hip hop industry. What did they just get through celebrating?
50th anniversary.
Now, you know what's bad about it? How long did R&B work the first of the charts as the primary music? How long did soul do it? In other words, in America, it lasts about 10 years max before it gets replaced by something. We have stagnated in music for a half century. And it's embarrassing. What that means is grandparents and great-grandparents are dancing to the same music at the same parties as their children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. Never before. Always the parents and the grandparents are looking at all this new music and new dance. This is just horrible and all this gyrating. Now you got grannies out there trying to twerk.
That is true.
What the hell is stagnant?
Yeah.
So what the hell do they have to tell me, you, about voting and for who? And why we have to be stuck on ignorance, not ignorance. That can be banished by the acquisition of knowledge, but ignorant. They're some ignorant Negroes. It's a congenital thing. They wasn't born into a world where they just didn't acquire knowledge. They was born that way. Can't acquire no knowledge.
But see, you have this white billionaire, George Soros, buying up all the black media and just, mainstream media. And then you have the Congressional Black Caucus, who he funds, right? Promoting more nonsense with the hip hop task force. So, hey, get black people to vote for the Democrats or whoever through song and dance. Yeah, that is an insult because you can't get me to vote through song and dance. I'm sorry.
Oh, hell no. And you notice what they did for 2020? They had all these Negroes doing line dances outside of polling places. Like, excuse me, you getting took? This dude has already told you Negroes ain't getting the damn thing. It's all for the rainbow crowd. So why are you dancing?
Right.
Oh, he forgave our student loan. Yeah, it ain't got a damn degree. You dropped your ass out. So you just wasted your money. And then it's a cutoff at 125,000. And guess what? Anywhere else in the world, you'd be embarrassed to collect it because in America, 125,000, guess what, is cut off for a single person in the middle class. That means you wasted 4 years worth of college and a lot of money that you were obligated for to not even make middle class. Lower middle class, maybe, but not middle class. So what are you happy about? And then on the other hand, the banks got all of their interest over the entire period that they would have been earning it by letting you pay off the loan in installments. They got it all in one lump sum up front. They got the entire principal paid back in addition in one lump sum up front. They obviated the need to have collection departments, lawyer fees, collection fees, skip tracers to find people. They got all of these benefits up front, and you still can't get a better job. It's embarrassing. Who got something out of it? You were an excuse. You didn't get a damn thing.
Anyway, so
you put yourself on mute again.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I had myself on mute. So
I found this, by the way.
What is that? Oh, okay. Well, you should have texted to me because I can't see it, and we're just.
I was going to let you read it, see it. I was going to text it. I was going to read it.
Text it to me.
I was going to read it too.
So
it's simple enough.
Speaking of music, I want to because we're about to close out soon. I want to bring up the artist Beyonce. Love her. She is coming out with a country album in March. She released 2 singles called Text 'Em, Hit 'Em Up and 16 Carriages. Love it. It's a country song. I love it. So I'm looking forward to
That's how she is dressed. Well, yeah, she hell of a lot better looking than the hippo. The hippo.
You talk about
now, that is not offensive. That's just beautiful.
All right, fine. I want to talk about.
Yeah, I like.
I want to stay on this.
That's all right.
All right. Let me stay on this. Come on.
Go ahead.
So the point I'm trying to make here is her new album is coming out in March. It's a country album. Black people, when we're talking about country music, right? What is the history of country music and relating it to Black artists like Charlie Pride? You've heard of him, right?
Yeah, I met him.
Oh,
By the way, he confided in me and another guy. We were talking to him. You know what? He's not as old as you think he was. He said I wasn't but 15, 16, so I had to lie about my age. Wait, bring that back down. That's interesting. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, get old man way to grad. Yeah, I like that. But yeah, he was confiding in me and my late brother, who was co-executive producer on my show. And he was saying he had to lie about his age to get to work, so he wasn't as old as they thought he was. But he's a real nice guy, personal. We talked to him for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't got a problem.
No. But I wanted to speak to the history of country music, because when we think of country music today, there's a whole bunch of white artists. But Black people, let's say from years ago, played a significant part in country music.
Yeah, it's frontier. You had places like Montana, you had Nebraska. You had a lot of Black folk that were there, and they were cowboys. You have, even like, everybody ever heard of bulldogging, when you wrestled the steers down so you could rope them? Guys throw the lasso over the steer, jump off the horse, throw the steer to the ground, and they brand him. Well, that was a Black man that came up with that. I'm forgetting his name for right now, but they have a statue of him outside of Fort Worth, in Fort Worth, Texas, outside of the rodeo arena. Bill Pickens. And there were a lot of Black folk out there on the frontier. Buffalo Soldiers, 9th, 10th Cavalry, 24th and 25th Infantry, and an artillery battalion. So yeah, Black folk were out there, so they participated in the process. They were in the saloons. It was the frontier, so there was a big involvement of Black folk.
It was Black influence in country music.
Yeah.
So and real quick, so it is Black History Month. The term cowboy.
It used to be an insult. Did you know that?
You told me the story, and I want you to tell the audience. The term cowboy, where did it derive from?
Okay, in other words, for several months, you're out there trying to get a herd of very stinky, unwashed animals who smell filthy from somewhere down close to the southern border up to somewhere like Chicago. It was dirty. You slept outside. You didn't have a bath for all that time unless you passed a stream, and then it was muddy and shit filled from the cows or the steers crapping in it and everything else. So you smelled foul. You tended to be at the bottom of the skill set tables. And it was not a good thing. But then it got popularized by these dime novels into something glamorous. The knights with a 6-gun strapped on out there on the frontier. And people started fantasizing about it. And then cowboy became something of a significant thing. And it morphed from being basically like being a garbage man to something of some note. Nothing wrong with being a garbage.
But it wasn't the white men will call the black men boy, cowboy, because they did not want to refer to him as a man.
Oh yeah, well that too. Yeah, it's been
that's what I'm telling you. Come on, get to the beat of.
Well, I mean, I gotta recollect. You took me cold on that one. I have to.
Why? You the one who told me that.
I know, but I got to get the spokes running again.
Oh.
You know, when you put input, say hit, and your computer has little spokes going around, I'll do that. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, that is it. White folk call them boys, and they had a lot of blacks out there punching cows, they call it. So, yeah.
What was you just explaining?
Why? Well, yeah, but I'm just talking about other atmosphere. I was doing it in the context of Western entertainment.
No, I'm saying, but the term cowboy was a derogatory term to call black men boy instead of cow men or cow man. So
You with the cow man. It's just like caballero. That's the Mexican term for what a cowboy was. You were on a horse, it was dignified. You were doing something. They were into that. Cowboys were just like dime a dozen. And a lot of black folk fill that role.
but they will call them boy, and that's how the term cowboy came about.
Well, to an extent, yes.
They wanted to, instead of calling a black man man, they would say boy. But now cowboy is popularized, cowboy, cowgirl, you know, with the hats and stuff like that. So yeah, a lot of stuff have historical context, but when we talk about how a lot of times culture can evolve, so it's like something that was negative, you know, society or media can turn it into something positive. But just to real quick, just to stay on Beyonce real quick. And the reason
why looking good. Oh yes, indeed.
Yeah, outside of her looking good, yes, she looks good. But where is that article at? This is why I wanted to bring up the history of black people in country music, because something came out earlier this week. Country music stations already refusing to play Beyonce's country songs. Mind you, both her songs are at #1. They're at the top of the charts, right? So her songs and video, well, no, the songs dropped on Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday. And everybody was just going crazy. I was going crazy. I like the songs. I do like it. But they were saying, oh, you know, when her songs were released, it was also announced her album, which is dropping March 29th. It's her 8th studio album, Act 2. But according to one ex-user who requested Hold'em, Texas Hold'em, to be played on KYKC 100.1 FM in Oklahoma, the station replied by email to decline. We do not play Beyonce as we are a country music station. And I don't think it had nothing to do with because she's black.
I bet it had to do with her fan base.
Right. So when you say Beyonce, you already are putting her in pop and R&B. So
well, yeah, but a special category. And I talked to you because when you told me about it, I was quite surprised. There is what were you saying that she has an enormous number of in her fan base? Who does she appeal to?
Women.
But
I mean, the gay community as well, but it's mainly
women. That's it. I think that may be just code that they're putting out as to why they won't put her album on, because they actually are pushing back against the encroachment that we've seen the rainbow do on our society. So they're taking action, I think.
Well, I don't think it's that. I think it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with Beyonce, and they always put her in pop and R&B, but it's like, okay, no, this is literally a country album. These are country songs. So yeah, take it seriously. But now it's come out saying it was a mistake. They are playing it. You better play it, because she's bringing more spotlight to country music to make it more accessible to people who never
listen to it. She can sing. She's a very accomplished singer, and probably when they saw the graphics, they went on, oh, hell yes. Okay.
Right. So let me let you see this one last time before we move on. So this is the visual of the single Texas Hold'em, and this one over here is 16 carriages in the black and white. I want the hat.
Hat is cool. I have to give her that. She got a hat on.
Well, you know, born and raised in Texas. She was born and raised in Texas.
I know that. I met her. She wouldn't remember.
I
don't know. I met her and her parents, who were still married at the time. My office used to be 5900 Wilshire Boulevard in LA. And actually, who was that had the radio show up there all the time? Steve Harvey. And his station was broadcast or recorded in the same building that I had my office. So quite often I would come down there and be on his show. And Beyonce's dad and mom, I ran into them on the elevator and we talked briefly. Mom was hot, boy, back in the day. That was before they broke up. But Beyonce, she's fine. Ain't no doubt about it.
Yeah, she's very attractive, very beautiful, very talented.
I like her music.
She's a singer, good dancer, great performer. I went to her concert last summer. Listen, I'm looking forward to this album. I love the 2 singles. And yeah, I just, I wanted to highlight country music and Black people playing a part in it. So yeah. So I didn't want to touch on Monique too much. She has been trending this week because her son, I don't know if you heard about it, he came out and, was replying to when Monique was on Club Shay Shay, because they have a strained relationship. So he comes out, I guess, sharing his story of their relationship. Then her and her husband, Sydney, they go live on Instagram responding to her son. And then he responds again. And I think she responded. Then he do one last response. But this is the thing. Monique never said anything negative about her son. She took ownership, saying that, listen, she could have been a better mother. They do have a strained relationship. They are trying to sometimes work at it, or they just haven't been talking. And that was the end of the extent when she was talking about her son. She never go in details because it's nobody's business. The problem that I have is, yes, we all have a story. No one didn't want to hear his story. I mean, maybe some people did. But why did you feel compelled to do a 10-minute video on your side of the story when your mother did not go in details about her side of the story with you and her relationship? She just said, we do have a strained relationship and I would love for us to have a relationship again. And that was it.
You know what it is? This is the new trend in 15 minutes of fame. I know Monique and her husband. They're fine people. They're interesting to talk to. We've been on the phone for hours chatting about the world and everything else. They're great people. And she loves men being men. And interestingly enough, though she's the star, everybody knows, she always defers to her husband, who is a wise man, in my opinion. So they make a hell of a couple. Now, I don't know what this kid was doing, but sometimes, well, maybe that explains what we see in criminal court and we saw today. Keep your mouth shut sometimes. In law, they call it the Fifth Amendment, but people got to talk. Tell their side.
Young generation.
So
the millennials and the Gen Zs, they always want to come out and expose the parents. You weren't a good parent. Okay, but you're an adult. Being a parent, you're not going to get it right. There's no such thing as being a perfect parent. That's one of the hardest jobs you could ever have. You're not going to get it right. But I didn't hear Monique put blame on her son. She took accountability for her shortcomings,
Yeah, Monique is a fine woman.
So whatever happened between them two, I didn't want to hear the son tell us what happened, his side of the story, what happened, for what? Because she wasn't telling us.
Well, you know what it is? They used to have a Gallo commercial, we serve no wine before it's time. They got a new one, we whine all the time. And that was whining.
Southern Belle, I don't listen. Monique complained for years. She didn't complain about her son. I never heard her complain about her son. How you going to complain about someone that you were the cause of having a strained relationship or whatever? But everybody is grown. I think what I'm saying here is, listen, it's freedom of speech, freedom of press. But what I'm saying is, I'm starting to see a trend of these young people feel as though they have to air out their grievances about their parents online, you know, when the parents didn't say anything negative about them. That's what I'm saying. Now, if somebody says something negative about you, then you want to go online and blast them with your receipts. That's fine. But when no one didn't say anything negative about you, but you want to go and say something negative about them and point out all their flaws, that's what I have a problem with. So, the kids, listen, if you are a grown child and you don't like your parents, get over it and live your life. You don't got to deal with them because you're grown and you're out the house. I'm no longer responsible for you. You don't like the way I did it? Well, then you do better. That's it. That's it. So
let me give you a perspective. There is a famous person in English history, and this is from a time in English history where they had real nobility and aristocracy. This guy took a number of Englishmen who made it big, and it was recorded. They had some scribes who just recorded them having a conversation about this supposed great man. And they were bragging about how kind he was when their fathers sent them to his fortresses, castles, to be trained. One of them said, but he was a kind man. He only knocked one of my teeth out. And another one said, he only broke 2 of my fingers when I got out of line. Another one says, well, I got a broken, a fractured arm. And the listeners were astonished that that was all that happened to them growing up. He was said to be too lax in his discipline. So these guys are being told that their ward, not their ward, but the person that they were ward to, was too generous and too easy on them because they didn't have enough broken bones from getting slapped down for him taking offense. So he was noted as being such a kind overlord. Now, everybody whines about it, and what they don't realize is people look at them and say, man, that happened to you? Damn, dude, you kind of effed up, man. Damn. Can we say fuck you, or we got to keep that down? Keep it down. All right. So you kind of effed up, man. Damn, is that what happened to you? And they don't get it. Well, I had all these horrible things happen to me. You know what, man? We don't really care, but if you got to go and tell on yourself, okay, fine. Well, okay, mommy was mean to you, so what are you going to do about it? Okay, that help you out? I'd spend more time moving on, Dan, than,
Yeah, life is too short. Life is too short to be rolling around in, negativity. If you do have any type of trauma, mentally, physically, or whatever, just go and seek help, and build your tribe of people around you that is healthy for you. That's all. But, running social media, sometimes part of mental health and looking out for your mental health or getting mental health help is to stay off the internet. That is part of helping you with any mental issues or trauma you may be going through. Stay off the internet. That's the first step, because it works. It works. So anyway, good show. You know what? I'm so decisive because I come up with these different ideas. The website is evolving. So a couple of changes that I want to do, because I may come back to us doing the Thursday live on YouTube, and then only thing people are going to be paying for on a website is the vault videos, all of the archive videos, but you can enjoy the blog. I think I'm going to attach my YouTube on the YouTube stream on the website. So if I'm live on YouTube, you see me live on the website. But so I'm making some adjustments to the website. However, we weren't on there tonight. I may stick to the Man Up on Thursdays, and you guys could just be on a website for free. And the only thing you paying for is the archive videos of Judge Joe Brown. Some really good videos. But anyway, thank you, everybody. I think I got a couple of cash apps. Yes, I do. Thank you, Natasha Holiday, for the super sticker. And thank you, Jacqueline Moore. Judge, can you explain what his business partner did not have to testify? I'm confused.
Okay. What his business partner, who are we talking about? You mean Wade's business partner?
I guess so.
We didn't get into that, but one of the problems that I observed is you're supposed to be lawyers, and this talk about cash, at least as to Wade, you heard him testify. We did not hear his business partner testify to. Is a lot of Fifth Amendment stuff. In other words, you're talking about transactions with no cash, no receipts, no recordation, no calendars with it on there, no report to IRS, and there's significant amounts sufficient to get beyond the petty cash level. It's a matter of gifting, and the gifts, according, we saw one figure, $43 some thousand. That certainly adds up to one that should have been reported. So we have some IRS not prosecutions, but some potential IRS violations that were attested to under oath, and it's kind of strange. Does the judge need to advise the attorneys who are officers of that court of their rights? And you notice he avoided some things. We didn't touch on it here, but during the testimony, he would caution them not to cite certain Georgia criminal statutes. That would be in the record, but he didn't want it morphing into close examination on matters that might be productive of incriminating evidence, self-incrimination. So I don't know what aspect of the business partner's testimony you're referring to, sir. But just as a general remark, to reiterate, keep your mouth shut, or at least know your rights. And a lot of people, even lawyers, don't. So it's just what we saw with Monique's son. He had to go. And we saw Miss Mamie, Miss Fani, and we saw Mr. Wade.
Yappity yap yap. Yeah.
And by the way, that would have helped everybody out, but I guess they think there's more onus today to exercising your constitutional right.
Sometimes just shut up and stay off TV and social media. Plead the fifth.
Yeah, and like, in other words, excuse me, I need to consult with counsel. Well, you're all like, well, you know what they say about a lawyer who represents himself. He's got either a fool for a client or a fool for a lawyer. I'd like to consult with counsel, Your Honor, before I answer that question. So at this point, I would take the Fifth Amendment in so much as the response might produce evidence that tended to incriminate me. What's that? Well, IRS liability or prosecution under federal laws for that. So, yeah.
Like, you know, I don't, DA or non-DA, you billionaire or not, you don't want to play with the IRS.
And see, here's what they're doing. They're trying to hold on to this Trump case so tough that they're forgetting about the potential personal criminal liability that they are giving evidence to support, evidence against themselves that supports a case against themselves. In other words, they're indulging in self-incrimination that they don't have to, that it's more important to them to maintain face. We're prosecuting Trump. They couldn't get us off of that. We're in the righteous cause to the blues. and saying, yeah, your ass might go to jail.
Yeah.
Remember,
You're trying to bring this man down. You bringing yourself down.
You want the perspective? Wesley Snipes did 3 years in a federal penitentiary for not income tax evasion like the press inappropriately reports. And hell, I was there during the trial. I even testified during the proceedings. He got 3 years for failure to complete a full set of forms. He overpaid his taxes by $250,000, and he still did 3 years in jail. Now, we hear testimony concerning a lot of things. We don't use credit card. We don't have receipts. We didn't record any of this. We don't know how much cash. It's like, really? Ooh, wee, wow, wee, whoopee.
All right. Good night, everybody. Please hit that like button.
Good show.
Please share. And it was a lot of people in here tonight. We got up to 2,000 people. And it was because of the topic. And 85% of this poll, do you believe Fani Willis? 85 said no, 15 says yes. But listen, she will be taking a stand again for part 2. And we will be bringing you a part 2 content on it.
May I make a brief comment?
Yeah.
The matter isn't really, do you believe her or not? It's worse if you believe her, because she'd be making a credible witness against herself. If you believe what she's saying, she is effectively confessing to several felonies. So the point is, catch-22. If she's not believable, she's not making a good witness against herself. But if she is credible, the 15% say, we believe her. If you believe her, she's incriminating herself, and there's a jail cell perhaps in her future. So,
all right, I don't know. We'll talk about it in part 2. Good night, guys.
That's funny to me.
Thank you, everybody who donated. I love you most of all. Appreciate you guys. Everyone in the chat, go and get you the Judge Joe Brown barbecue sauce. I will be playing a commercial on our exit out. And we'll see you soon. Bye. Good night. Where is the commercial? Okay, go.
Judge Joe Brown's all-new barbecue sauce and seasoning. Justice in the form of flavor.
Law firms will take this as a retainer.
What? It must be a law firm where they hungry as hell. Now you gonna help me with this parole I'm dealing with?
Judge Joe Brown's all-new barbecue sauce and seasoning. Justice in the form of flavor. With one taste of our premium blends of all-natural ingredients, herbs, and spices, you'll fall in love with meat all over again. Judge Joe Brown's all-natural barbecue sauce collection is made up of 2 zesty flavors, original and spicy. There's only one way to bring order back to barbecuing. Just add Judge Joe Brown's all-natural barbecue sauce and seasoning, and you be the judge.